Welcome back to the Odd Socks, the only channel where button mashing counts as cardio, coins exploding out of enemies is basically free money, and high school diplomacy consists entirely of drop kicks, roundhouse kicks, and the occasional flying backpack. Today we're diving headfirst into River City Ransom, a gloriously chaotic, hilariously absurd brawler where the plot is simple. Your girlfriend's been kidnapped, the streets are crawling with hooligans, and the only logical solution is to punch, kick, and launch everything in sight until the problem is solved. You play as Alex and Ryan, two high school legends who clearly skipped Conflict Resolution 101 and majored in street violence with honours. These guys aren't here to negotiate, plan, or even ask politely. They're here to leave bruised egos, flying coins, shattered pride, and probably some very confused pigeons in their wake. Every enemy you knock out explodes into coins like a hyperactive piggy bank yelling, "Thanks for the fight, here's your allowance." Meanwhile, the health system insists that sushi isn't just for dinner, it's for survival. And nothing says prepared for street brawls quite like scarfing down a miso soup before suplexing the next gang of punk kids. Shopping mid-fight is a totally viable strategy, of course. Do you snag a couple of new books so that you can learn some new kung fu techniques? Do you grab some sushi, or is it better just to take a spar? Meanwhile, your girlfriend is probably wondering if you'll ever actually rescue her, or if you're just casually planning a shopping spree while chaos reigns supreme. The enemies themselves are ridiculously colourful, bullies who act like they're auditioning for daytime soap operas, thugs who clearly skipped basic street etiquette, random bystanders who scream at the top of their lungs for no reason, and dialogue so absurd it's basically a surreal comedy show. And then there's the environment. Flying trash cans, exploding vending machines, ridiculously placed obstacles, and enough interactive chaos that you might question if River City is a town or an arena designed purely for mayhem. But here's the real twist. Behind all of the flying fists, coins, sushi-fueled power-ups, and general insanity, whispers circulate of a mysterious, slick mastermind who's been orchestrating everything from the shadows. That's right, Slick has been pulling strings, setting traps, and turning River City into a playground of pure controlled chaos. Who is this cunning genius? Why have they turned a normal high school street into a strategic battleground for brawls, food, and flying backpacks? Is it revenge? Is it sport, or just some elaborate prank? Every punch, every trash can toss, and every sushi bite, it might all be part of their grand, sneaky plan. And let's be honest, by the end of this rampage, we're going to find out that the streets were never really safe, that chaos was probably never random, and this mysterious villain is probably laughing at us all while we try to rescue Alex and Ryan's girlfriend. Strap in, because things are about to get wild, ridiculous, and absolutely hilarious, and in River City, nothing is ever just a street fight. It's a full-on, over-the-top adventure that somehow makes perfect sense. Until it doesn't. Now, I paid $220 for this cart because it's a legacy cart, and you can't just get it on Amazon anymore. But even so, we can't say that I paid that, because that's for 8 games. For this review, we need to say that I spent $27.50. Meaning, for me to get my $10 per hour ratio, I'll need to play and complete this game in more than 2 hours and 45 minutes. And I can successfully say I achieved that, playing and completing this game in 4 hours and 20 minutes, giving me a $6.35 hour ratio, which is still a bargain in my books. I had a play count of 5, a load count of 35, and a save count of 25. Let's take a look at the story. In the streets of River City, chaos is basically the city's national sport, and your girlfriend has been kidnapped, kicking off a mission that's equal parts action, absurdity, and over-the-top brawling. You play as either Alex or Ryan, two high school toughs who skipped talk it out entirely and went straight for a PhD in fist throwing, chair swinging, and generally causing maximum chaos. These guys aren't here to ask nicely, negotiate, or even plan. They're here to punch, kick, and throw their way through the city like it owes them money. And honestly, judging by the state of River City, it probably does. The city is split into neighborhoods and each one has its own brand of ridiculous enemies. Alleyways are crawling with sneaky street punks who think hiding behind dumpsters make them invisible, and spoiler alert, it doesn't, not at all. The school gym is like a gladiator arena for overconfident teens swinging chairs, benches, and whatever random sports equipment they can find, all while yelling insults that make absolutely no sense but somehow sting worse than a right hook. And the factories? That's where the big burly thugs hang out, glaring at you like you just stole their lunch money and clearly ready to make you regret ever stepping foot in their neighborhood. Everywhere you go, the city feels alive with chaos. Enemies pop out of corners, jump over railings, and throw whatever they can grab, making every fight a hilarious, fast-paced gauntlet. But here's the twist that gives the game its surprisingly strong story. You can't just brawl your way straight to your girlfriend. Each gang boss holds the key to the next area, meaning you have to find them, beat them up, and extract information before you can move forward.
Catchphrase.
It's basically a gangster-themed follow the yellow brick road, except the road is full of thugs, flying pipes, and bosses who think insulting your hairstyle counts as a special attack. Each boss is bigger, louder, and more egotistical than the last, taunting you with ridiculous lines, throwing weapons, and making you feel like you're auditioning for a brawl-themed reality show. And after all this, what's the prize? Your girlfriend's freedom and the satisfaction of proving you're the city's top street fighter. Every fight is a chaotic comedy of errors. Bats, pipes, and even trash cans become tools of destruction. Enemies trip over each other, get distracted mid-attack, or accidentally knock out one of their own gang members, leaving you to wonder if anyone actually trained for this job. In the school gym, dodgeball might as well be a lethal weapon, and alleyway brawls feel like dodging a swarm of caffeinated raccoons armed with baseball bats. In the factories, the big thugs are slow but strong, swinging pipes and stomping around like the boss of every street corner ever, ensuring there are no two fights that are ever the same. And the story threads it all together. Every neighborhood, every quirky enemy, and every over-the-top boss is a step closer to rescuing your girlfriend. You're not just punching for fun. Each fight has a purpose, and each boss encounter reveals a little bit more of the twisted chain of events. And the city itself almost seems alive with personality and humor, throwing chaos at you at every turn. By the time you finally reach your girlfriend, you've survived every bizarre neighborhood, mastered the art of weapon throwing, and probably laughed more than you've ever laughed while saving someone. River City is chaotic, hilarious, and surprisingly clever. A retro brawler with a story that keeps your fists busy, your reflexes sharp, and your funny bone thoroughly entertained. And so for the odd sock score on the story, I give River City a solid 7 out of 10 because honestly, it's way smarter than you'd expect from a chaotic brawler. The plot actually ties the whole game together, giving every fight, weapon throw, and alleyway brawl a reason to exist beyond pure chaos. First off, the bad guys are unforgettable. Every thug, mini-boss, and gang leader has a ridiculous nickname that makes you laugh while simultaneously wondering how anyone survived high school in this city. But the real kicker is the twist at the end. Slick, the big cunning mastermind behind all the gang chaos, is actually Simon, your old schoolmate. Yes, that's right, the guy you probably walked past in the hallway without saying hi, or more importantly, without paying back that lunch money he lent you years ago, has now gone full big bad, and somehow retro game logic makes this make perfect sense. Your past debts have literally turned your friend into a supervillain. Moral of the story, never ignore your lunch money debts, apparently. But it's not just about revenge. By defeating the hilarious and over-the-top butthead twins and punching some long overdue sense back into Simon, or Slick, you actually graduate every bully at school. Yes, literally. Every last hooligan, punk, and street tough suddenly passes with honors, as if each punch and weapon thrown is an intense life lesson in retro violence. It's absurd, it's hilarious, and it feels like a flashback to a time when the best way to teach people lessons was with your two fists. And the story gives purpose to your chaos. You're not just throwing chairs, bats and pipes for fun, though let's be honest, it's a big part of it. You're restoring order, settling old scores and rehabilitating your old friend turned villain. What's so brilliant is how the game balances this surprisingly strong narrative with its over-the-top chaotic gameplay. Alleyways, school gyms and factories are all packed with enemies who are ridiculous, unpredictable and endlessly entertaining. Each neighborhood has its own flavor of chaos and comedic combat, making you feel like every punch is part of an absurd but coherent story. And by the time you finally reach Slick or Simon or whoever you want to call him, it's not just a fight. It's the culmination of every hilarious street brawl, every weapon thrown, and every ridiculous gang encounter that has led you to this retro, chaotic showdown. And by the end, the story leaves you laughing, punching, and marveling at how clever it is for a game that's basically throw weapons, beat up gangs, and rescue your girlfriend. It's retro brawler storytelling at its finest. It's funny, it's chaotic, it's slightly ridiculous, but it has enough heart and clever twists to make every punch, weapon, and boss fight feel meaningful. And honestly, that lunch money debt, I'm never letting it slide again. Let's talk about the sound in River City Ransom. And by sound, I mean the glorious chaos of punches, kicks, and flying weapons, because fun fact everybody, nobody actually talks. That's right, it's all text bubbles popping up over your enemies, and somehow this makes the whole thing even funnier. Instead of hearing someone scream at you or shout insults, you get these perfectly timed comic book style captions that make every hit feel dramatic, ridiculous, and cartoonishly satisfying. Alleyway punks mutter threats in text as you throw pipes at them. School gym bullies swing benches while their quips pop up like exaggerated comic panels, and factory thugs announce their intentions in ways so over the top that you can't help but chuckle while dodging their attacks. The text gives every character personality without ever needing a voice, turning the city into a chaotic comic strip where you're the main brawler protagonist. The real star of the show, though, is the impact sound design. Every punch, kick, chair smash, and pipe swing has this satisfying retro crunch that makes hitting buttons ridiculously fun. It's exaggerated enough to feel like a classic Saturday morning cartoon fight, but tight enough that you can actually feel the weight of each move. Throwing a weapon at a gang member and hearing that metallic clang, pure joy. Knocking over a thug in the alley with a flying bat, instant grin, and every sound cue makes you want to keep brawling, keep throwing, and keep experimenting with what you can pick up off the ground to smash some sense into River City's hooligans. And let's not forget the music. The 8-bit soundtrack is a masterclass in retro brawler energy. Alleyways, school gyms, and factories, they all get their own infectious tracks that match the mayhem on screen. It's upbeat, catchy, and just chaotic enough to make your punches feel like part of a brawling rhythm game. You can almost imagine Alex and Ryan moving in time with the beat, spinning, dodging, and throwing weapons like a full-on action comedy dance troupe. And unlike some games where the music fades into the background, here it drives the madness, making the streets feel alive and hilariously over the top. Even though no one is actually speaking in the game, the combination of text dialogue and the impact sounds and retro music makes River City Rampage feel like a fully realized cartoonish world. The city itself practically shouts at you through every punch, throw, and boss fight, and you feel the chaos in your hands, in your ears, and every pop-up text that turns what could have been simple brawls into hilarious, over-the-top, and satisfying mini-scenes. By the time you've punched, kicked, and thrown your way through the alleyways, school gyms, and factories, the audio experience has you laughing, strategizing, and almost dancing along with the chaos, all without a single voice line in sight. In short, the sound in River City doesn't just support the gameplay, it is the gameplay. It's exaggerated, chaotic, funny, and perfectly retro, turning every brawl into a ridiculous, satisfying, and highly memorable experience. It's so absurd, it's so charming, and it makes you fall in love with punching fools, throwing weapons, and surviving River City's insane neighborhoods all over again and again. So for the odd sock score on the sound, I give River City a solid 8 out of 10 because honestly, it's impossible to get bored with it. Every punch, kick and weapon throw hits with those satisfying retro punchiness and the city feels alive with energy, but what really makes the sound shine are those boss encounters. The moment a boss appears, the music explodes into pure energy, making your heart race and immediately forcing you to ask, who's it gonna be this time? It's like the city itself is teasing you, hyping you up and daring you to take on the chaos. That build-up alone is enough to make you lean forward in your seat, ready to throw everything you've got and instantly pulls you deeper into the gameplay. Then, when you finally defeat a boss, the music eases back into this smooth, cool, almost cinematic groove that feels like slick storytelling in audio form. It's the perfect reward for surviving the chaos, letting you catch your breath while still keeping you immersed in the world of River City. The way the sound shifts between chaos and cool storytelling makes each neighborhood, gang and encounter feel like part of a living, breathing game world rather than just a single random fight. And what makes the sound really shine though is how much it absorbs you into that gameplay. Chairs crashing, pipes swinging and thugs being knocked around all land with a weighty, satisfying punch that makes each brawl feel alive. You can almost taste every hit, every dodge and every weapon thrown, and it keeps you completely engaged from the first alleyway fight to the last rooftop showdown. The soundtrack is pure 8-bit energy, matching the chaos of alleyways, school gyms and factories perfectly. It's catchy, it's over the top and it's hilarious in all the right ways. And each track makes you feel like part of the action, turning every fight into these mini action comedy scenes that's impossible not to get wrapped up in. In short, the sound isn't just good, it's fun, energetic, immersive and perfectly tuned to the game's over-the-top style. From the boss encounters to the satisfying weapon smashes to the smooth story building music after a victory, it all comes together to pull you straight into the chaos, making every fight thrown and every punch feel like the most satisfying, hilarious brawler you've ever played. Let's take a look at the gameplay. Now let's dive into the gameplay, and honestly, it's way deeper than you'd expect from a side-scrolling brawler. On the surface, it all looks like a classic beat-em-up punch-kick-throw, but underneath all the chaos is a surprisingly intricate system that almost feels like a full-blown RPG. For starters, the number of shops you can enter is wild. You can buy food to restore your health and energy, and even books to learn new moves, and trust me, those books are essential if you want any hope on beating the bosses. Without them, you're basically swinging your fists in the air, hoping for your best. And speaking of coins, the game punishes you for dying in true retro style. Lose a fight and you drop half your hard-earned coins, which you desperately need to buy sushi and other snacks to restore your health and energy. Suddenly, every fight isn't just about surviving or progressing, it's about protecting your resources and making every hit count. You can even take breaks to relax at a spa in-game, which restores health and gives you a bit of breathing room before diving back into all the chaos. Honestly, it's wild, a beat 'em up with shopping, training, health management and resource strategy. It's basically a side-scrolling RPG disguised as a brawler, and it works surprisingly well. The combat itself is tight, fast and satisfying. You can throw weapons, combo attacks and chain moves in ways that feel both strategic and ridiculous at the same time, and each neighborhood, each alleyway and school gym introduces new enemy types, unique hazards and bosses that make you think twice before rushing in. The bosses aren't just bigger enemies either, they're tests of everything you've learned so far. All the moves, all the items, and all the strategies you've picked up while exploring River City, and missing a key move you learn from a book or running out of coins to buy sushi for health can completely change the fight, which makes preparation just as important as the execution. Even small side activities feel rewarding, picking up extra coins, buying new snacks, and exploring shops adds depth, while little touches like the in-game spa are both funny and clever. You're not just brawling for the sake of brawling, you're managing resources, upgrading your character and plotting your route through the city's chaos like a true strategist. And by the time you reach the later stages, it really feels like an RPG experience, except with more flying pipes, chairs and hilarious street fights. In short, the gameplay combines classic beat-em-up action with RPG-style progression, resource management, and side activities in a way that keeps you invested from the very first alleyway fight to the last rooftop showdown. Every fight, every coin, and every move you learn feels meaningful, and the balance of humor, challenge, and depth makes this one of the most unexpectedly interactive retro brawlers out there on the market. And so for the odd sock score on the gameplay, I give a massive 9 out of 10. And this is what a beat 'em up should be doing. It's almost like a side-scrolling RPG disguised as a street brawl. And remember, this game originally came out on the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1989. Yes, the same year big hair and leg warmers were all the rage, and it still holds up today because of how rich and satisfying the gameplay actually is. Seriously, the depth here is nuts for a retro brawler. The shops, the items, the books to learn new moves, it's like going to school except your homework is punching punks in the face. The combat here is also ridiculously fun, and you've got combos, weapon throws, and special moves like the dragon feet that make your kicks extra chaotic. Basically turning your legs into a tiny retro flamethrower of street justice. And don't get me started on the variety of enemies. Every gang feels like they were recruited from a comic book, complete with hilarious nicknames and exaggerated personalities. Some of them even look like they've skipped PE class but still somehow mastered every wrestling move in existence. The shops are surprisingly important. You need coins to buy sushi and snacks for health, and dying costs you half your stash. So every fight suddenly matters. It's like being a very poor, very angry gourmet chef, and if you don't punch well, you just don't eat well. And then there's the in-game spa. Yes, an actual spa where you can relax and recover your health. I mean, who knew brawling through alleyways and factories could include a bit of pampering? Only in River City, folks. Now, of course, a little nitpick, the jumping mechanic is tricky to master. The game never actually really tells you which button is jump, and it's one of those situations where you have to press both buttons at the same time. It's clunky, sure, and I definitely had a few "why won't you jump" moments, but let's be honest, it adds a little extra chaos to the fights. Think of it as the game's way of saying, you want to jump? Prove it, punk. In short, it's a deep, chaotic, hilarious, and surprisingly strategic brawling adventure. You're learning new moves, managing coins for sushi, taking spa breaks like a stressed out high schooler, and still finding time to beat up gangs with ridiculous names. It's clever, it's addictive, and it makes you laugh while kicking butt. Honestly, even after all these years, this game still proves that a great beat-em-up doesn't need fancy graphics, just lots of punches, chaos, and the occasional dragon-powered kick to the face. So overall, I rate River City a massive 8 out of 10. Honestly, this game made me wish all beat-em-ups followed this style of gameplay. It's like it looked into the future and said, here's everything you'll ever need: story, depth, chaos, and a side of sushi. For a game that came out in the NES in 1989, it's way ahead of its time. The gameplay is ridiculously rich, almost like a side-scrolling RPG in disguise, with shop items, moves to learn, and even spas for when punching people gets stressful. I mean, who needs fancy graphics when you've got hilarious gangs, rooftop showdowns, and special moves like Javelin Man, where you throw your enemies like missiles, knock them into walls or other punks, and watch the chaos unfold. Warning, some enemies might get back up if you throw them too far, but that's just a little bit of extra fun. And for the rest of it, the look, the music, the story, it all comes together perfectly. The 8-bit soundtrack keeps you hyped enough for every brawl, and the city feels genuinely alive. And the story actually makes sense for once in a beat-em-up, and I can totally understand why people rave about this game, and honestly, I'd agree. I'm going to be up there raving about it also. From the crazy enemy names to the boss fights that feel like mini-movies, it's totally absurd. It's funny, and it's satisfying in ways that most modern brawlers don't even come close to. What really stays with me is how it sticks in your head long after you've put the controller down. This isn't just a game you blast through and forget, it's the kind of retro brawler that has you daydreaming about throwing enemies like missiles with Javelin Man while waiting for your toast to pop. It perfectly balances chaos, strategy, humor, and story in ways that make other beat-em-ups look like they forgot the fun part. Honestly, this game is the gold standard for the genre, and I wouldn't be shocked if years from now I'm still comparing every brawler I play to the sheer brilliance of River City Ransom. If a game doesn't make me laugh, think, and land satisfying punches all at once, it's not quite measuring up to this level of retro perfection. If you've ever wanted a game that lets you punch punks, throw enemies like missiles, manage Sushi for health, and master moves like Javelin Man, all while laughing at the ridiculousness of it all, River City has you covered. It's the kind of game that will stay with you long after the screen goes dark. And honestly, more games should be trying for this kind of style because, to me, this level of depth, humor, and sheer fun is now the gold standard for beat-em-ups. Thank you so much for watching another Deep Dive Evercade completion review. Please remember to give me a like, subscribe, and comment down below. I would love to know if you have played this game back in the day, if you've played this game last year, or if you've just watched this review and now you need to go out and play this game straight away. Like seriously, what are you waiting for? Get on eBay and get this game because it's honestly amazing. I can't rate it highly enough. Apart from that, stay odd, stay awesome, and we'll see you next Friday for another Deep Dive adventure. See you later, guys.
Woo!